to the Lowdown Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the mortgage architects that are building design into their business to unlock scale and achieve freedom. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who traded a career building gyms and, for one, building wealth. Walked into a Wells Fargo call center with nothing but a copy of Mortgages for Dummies and just total conviction. Now, today, he runs a business built on real estate investors, coaches, other loan officers, and has a simple formula for knowing exactly what your time is worth. Trevor Higgins, welcome to the Lowdown.
Connor, thank you so much for having me.
You bet, man. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm excited to have this conversation and just to get kind of your wisdom out into the world. I've been impressed in just getting to know you and, some of the things that I've learned along the way. But I kind of want to jump right into this fitness industry and kind of where you got your start. So you came from, fitness.
Yeah.
And brought some of what you learned into mortgage. Like, what carried over from that world that still shapes how you coach people today, how you communicate with clients and referral partners and things like that?
Yeah, great question. So the fitness industry I got a lot from it, but the main reason I was in the fitness industry and I loved it was because I could help people. I could care for people, help them achieve their goals that they couldn't do on their own. And when I initially got into the mortgage industry, I didn't make this correlation right away until I actually learned what mortgages are all about. But as I got into it and learned a lot more about the process and really what we do and what real estate's all about, I realized that I'm also helping people. It's not with their health anymore. It's with their wealth, but it's still helping people. Anyone, I think it's the easiest way to build generational wealth in a family today. And so having the ability to help people and continue to serve families was one of the biggest things that I took away from the fitness industry. But outside of that, I mean, just in the industry, you're selling something that doesn't really exist, right? You have to paint a picture. You have to really describe and help these clients understand how they're going to achieve their goals. And so a lot of those skills translated into the mortgage business in terms of strategy, right? It's not just, hey, you're pre-approved, good to go. Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about your goals, figure out your financial goals. What do you want to do? What does the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years look like for you? At least what you think it looks like right now. And how can we make sure your financial goals and family's goals are aligned with your mortgage and real estate process?
Yeah, I love that. I feel like the advisors in this industry, the people that are really kind of approaching the client conversation with that in mind, have a much higher conversion rate. They retain their clients a lot longer. And so they get return business that way. And so I think that's a really smart way of doing it. The transactional approach, turn them and burn them, it's that is set up to just burn you out. But I did have a follow-up question on something you said, because you made a comment kind of in the middle of all of that about how you kind of learned what mortgages were really all about. And I'm curious, like, when you got into the business, what was your initial thought of mortgage?
Yeah. So like you mentioned in the intro, I read Mortgages for Dummies. So how I found the mortgage business, one of my good friends that I worked with in the fitness industry had gotten into the mortgage business up in Ohio, where I'm from, and was doing really well and was doing so well, I didn't believe him. And I was like, wow, you're doing good. Like, this might be something, but I didn't know what a mortgage was. So I went and got Mortgages for Dummies and found Wells Fargo had a call center here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and went up there. And so it was honestly just a play to try to make money. I needed a job. I mean, I was a regional director for a fitness company, doing okay, pretty successful with that. And so as that company went bankrupt and I didn't have a backup plan, I needed to find something. And so it was just an outlet to make money originally. And, in a call center, you don't really make money, but
you work really hard.
Yeah. You work really, but honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything because it was baptism by fire. So we were, I started during a big refinance boom. Rates were just kind of ticking down into the fours. And so there was a lot of refinance opportunity. There was still some HARP opportunity when I first got into the business. And so it gave me the ability to learn what mortgage, the process, what it's all about, what does it really mean? But it also gave me the ability to do a lot of loans without having to worry about referral partners and figure it out. So I did that for about a year and a half, and then, transitioned over into the retail space and have been there ever since.
Yeah, what was that transition like? Like getting into retail, going to commission only, you cut your teeth on a lot of loans, so I'm sure you're confident on the technical side, but the sales side, probably you felt confident in that from your fitness background, but what was that transition like?
Yeah. So I, back in college, went to a leadership academy through my fraternity and was sitting in the hot tub in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. What a terrible place to have a leadership academy, I know. Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, sitting in the hot tub, smoking a stogie on the beach with a guy that was a billionaire. He owned at the time almost 80% of the oil wells in Texas. So extremely successful. And we were just chatting back and forth. And, as I was like, hey, as cliche as this sounds, you know, I'm a junior in college. Next year, I'm a senior. What's, some of the best advice you could give me? And he really it was being in the right place at the right time with the right people. You're really focused on the fact that your trajectory in life is going to be based on the people that you know, but also the people that know you, regardless of what you do. And so that really that conversation kind of solidified the power of your network. And so even in the fitness industry where it didn't necessarily directly benefit me, I mean, a little bit to help know people and create relationships, it was always networking, trying to meet people in the gym, trying to meet the members, talk to them, get to know them and build relationships. And so when I transitioned from, direct to consumer over to the retail side, I already had a decent network. But it's funny. This industry, it's not rocket science, right? If you break it down, it's really just I have to get enough people to know what I do and like me enough to trust me with calling me, give me an opportunity. And so I wasn't nervous. I wasn't too scared, and I didn't have any kids at the time. So it was a lot easier to, go out on Saturdays and hit open houses and builder model homes and just massive action. And I loved it. And I got addicted to the relationships. I got addicted to serving families and, whether it's first generation of homeownership in their family or, a family that's downsizing because they're going through something difficult. We really get to help people through some of the craziest, most stressful times, some of the best times, right? Getting married, having a kid. So we get to see people and you get to learn so much about them through this process because you get to see everything from their financial perspective. And we all know clients overshare. And so it was just, it was a perfect fit, honestly.
Yeah, I love that, man. And you shared with me in kind of preparing for this a story because I know you already mentioned it. Like real estate is how you can build generational wealth. And so you shared
Yeah.
with me a story of a client that you saw kind of just change their lives in front of your eyes, right? Like they went through this metamorphosis of being just not just a homeowner, but a real estate investor and then eventually became a loan officer, which is great. So, if you don't mind sharing, like, what did you see in that journey, and how could people, maybe not should, but how could people really look at real estate as a lever to, build wealth in their life?
Yeah. I think clients that are open to investing in real estate and that doesn't have to sound as difficult as people make it sound. Personally, after doing loans for a while, I noticed a trend and almost every single person that at least had one or two investment properties was always doing significantly better financially than people without investment properties. And so as I started to see that trend, I'm like, there's something to this here. There's something to this. So yeah, watched a now loan officer kind of house hop and copied that same model myself. That's how I got involved in real estate investing myself is, buy a house, live in it for a couple of years, buy a new one, turn that one into a rental. And we did that a couple of times until you're like, yeah, okay, we don't need to upgrade anymore. We'll just buy them. But it's been great. I think it's one of the most obtainable ways for people to not just build wealth, but I look at it as kind of like a secondary retirement strategy, right? If you use it the right way, you have cash flow, you have income, and you're building equity, you're paying down debt. So you're continuing to build wealth through real estate over, just like the stock market over any, I don't know, 6 or 7 year period, home values always go up. There might be little dips here and there throughout history. Things happen, supply and demand goes down sometimes, but the values consistently go up. So I think, I call it a secondary retirement strategy because I'm not here to take financial advisors' jobs. I completely believe in that. I think planning's an extremely important aspect of your financial health and reaching financial freedom or whatever that might mean for you. But I do believe it's probably one of the most untapped ways where we can develop wealth in our country.
Yeah, I love that, man. Now, investors make up a big part of your business. What do you think makes that group specifically trust you, maybe even over other loan officers in the market?
Yeah, well, the first piece is I do it, so I understand it, and that always helps, right? It's like you go into a financial advisor that doesn't invest in his own advice, right? Probably doesn't make sense. Same thing is if I'm going to a real estate agent or I'm going to a loan officer and I'm trying to seek advice about investing in real estate and they've never done it, doesn't necessarily mean they don't know what they're doing, but they probably don't know as much as somebody that is doing it. And so it makes it a lot easier to bridge that trust, understand what their goals are and objectives are and map all of that out.
Yeah, and it's kind of a great niche to be in, right? Because you've got repeat clients that are always kind of looking for the next home. So if you were, coaching a loan officer on like kind of breaking into that niche, where would somebody start?
Yeah, I think the first thing is understanding real estate investing. And there's a ton of books, podcasts, Bigger Pockets, probably the biggest one that everybody's heard about. And just understanding, right, ROI, cash on cash, LTR, STR, midterm rentals, just start understanding kind of these terms that are used, that investors use and understanding some strategies, because that's one of the biggest things that helps that comfort level from a loan officer, right? If you can speak their language, if you can understand their strategy, their goals, what they're looking to do, it really helps facilitate that conversation and build a stronger relationship.
Yeah, I love that, man. Great advice. You got to meet people where they are, speak their language. Very hard to connect when you're speaking, one language and they're speaking another, and you're trying to figure out what everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
But there's a growth, that it's a process, and it's the investment in that process ultimately that's going to help you kind of do that. And so for anybody who wants to get into that niche, or any niche for that matter, there really is an education that you've got to put yourself through. Otherwise, you're just kind of faking it till you make it. And sometimes that's not the best way to go about it. But I wanted to get onto another topic because I love this concept, and I think it's something that every loan officer should really be paying close attention to and start calculating on their own. You had a mentor that taught you how to calculate your hourly rate before deciding what tasks to keep and what tasks to delegate. What was the moment that math, just sort of changed everything? Like, how did that perspective, or how did that give you new perspective?
Yeah, well, first things first, I'm very analytical. I'm a big math nerd. So I actually went to pharmacology school, which how we end up in mortgages, nobody knows. But and it was in the fitness business. What are you going to do? But yeah, so a mentor taught me, said this thing that really clicked in my mind. He said, are calculating your hourly rate, right? Take your commission for the month and, how many hours you work and figure out how much. That's pretty easy to do. I think most of us can figure that out. Hopefully we can, if we're loan officers. But you do that. And if you're doing tasks that you can pay someone 10, 12, 15, 18, $20 an hour to facilitate, and you're making double, triple, whatever, a lot more than $20 an hour or $15 an hour. Why are you doing that task? And so that was something that really clicked with me of, wait a second, if I really want to grow my business, if I really want to continue to do this, I can only go so far, and still have a life, especially as, my family grew, started to have kids. Now I want to spend time with my children too. I don't want to work 14, 16 hours a day. So if I don't want to do that and I still want to have that work-life balance, I'm going to have to delegate. I'm going to have to build a team. I'm going to have to trust some people with my business to help grow it and continue to focus on the sales side while they can focus on the operational side, back end, whatever that might look like.
Yeah, it's I mean, if you break down the math, let's say you're making $100 an hour, right? Like that's just what it comes out to. And then you're spending, 16 hours a week on operational, things in your files that if you could pay someone $20 an hour to do the same thing, now you've got 16 hours a week that's freed up for $100 an hour tasks. And suddenly you're now making more than $100 an hour because you're able to generate more revenue. And like this pattern is out there. So anyone listening, like, talk to someone who's producing at a higher level than you that's made their first hire and ask them what happened after you made that hire. And I almost all of them will tell you that their production grew. It's not a secret. And so I think there's, a lot of power in that, unlocking that perspective though, and really sitting down with yourself and going, okay, if I'm doing, $100 an hour, 16 hours a week, and things that someone else could be doing, that's $80,000 or more a year that's you know, out the door, that maybe I could just be investing in someone else for a quarter of that to do, and then I could be making more money. So it's I don't know. I think it's a great perspective. Everybody should really sit down with themselves and look at their check and figure that math out. So once you kind of started making that decision and had that new perspective, what was the first task that you handed off? And did you find it difficult to let go of it?
Yeah, absolutely difficult. So the first person I hired was a contract to close, basically. So I almost was removed from that part of the process. And yeah, that's hard, right? I mean, you have referral partners, relationships on the line. You've already started the process, that initial discovery call. You've started to build rapport and a relationship with the client or borrower, and you just hand it off. And it is challenging, especially as someone that learned pretty early on that I could set myself apart by delivering a white glove service, rolling out the red carpet. My ability to keep my customers and clients comfortable, confident through the process, try to manage. It's already a stressful situation. Nobody likes packing. Nobody likes moving. So can I help them feel a little bit better and a little bit less stressed through this process? And so kind of developed a systematic process to do that. Now, not everything follows the same process every single time, but 9 times out of 10, here's how things work. And that's why we have, 600 and some 5-star reviews. In fact, on Google, I have one star review, and it wasn't even my client. It wasn't even my customer. What are you going to do? You can't win them all.
You need to call Google about that one.
Yeah, I tried. They don't care. But yeah, so trying to trust somebody enough that they're going to treat your business the same way you treat it. They might do it differently, but having that level of trust, it does take time, so there were some things that I didn't want to give up right away. And I tried to keep close to my chest. But when you realize you get to a point to where you're like, okay, now I'm doing, instead of doing 25 million, now I'm doing 35 million. Well, if I want to go to 40, 50, 60 million, the only way I got to let this go. I have to be able to trust somebody and know that I've found the right person and I've got the right people in place. I've got the right system in place so that everything's going to be taken care of. And once you're able to get to that point, now you're able to figure, what do you want to make? How much do you want to do? How much do you want to grow? There's no cap, right? The opportunity is endless. It's just based on you.
Yeah, it becomes a who, not how, solution at that point. And okay, I need to make one more hire so I can do another X amount of loans a month, and you start adding to that. So you also do some coaching
Yeah.
and work with loan officers. What's the biggest misconception that you see that holds good loan officers back from kind of reaching that next level?
So two things. One, loan officers I think most loan officers are like me in the fact that we have ADD, right? We don't like long meetings. We're not going to read all these emails. We have a short attention span. We're salespeople. It's let's move, let's go. What do we got? And so that mentality, I think there's a lot of good that can come out of that mentality, right? But I also think it creates this need or idea that there's easy buttons. And so one of the biggest things that I see hold loan officers back from getting to the next level and growing their business is they're just keep looking for the next easy button. When if you just get focused in one thing, it doesn't matter what that is. Down payment assistance, first time home buyers, non-QM, construction, whatever your renovation, it doesn't matter. Pick a lane, whatever your company offers, whatever you VA business, whatever. There's a lot of different lanes you can pick, but you need to pick one lane, get ultra focused in that lane and go all in. And because there's no easy button. It's all going to take work. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take, outreach and action. There's nothing that's going to change that. There's not a perfect blueprint to build a business. One of the best examples, we have a loan officer here that built his business on calling for sale by owners and going to open houses. This guy right here, I haven't been to an open house in probably close to a decade. Not my thing. Don't like it. Did it in the beginning. We all do it. Not my thing. It's not how I built my business. Doesn't mean it's wrong. There's other loan officers out there that have built their business using open houses, but it wasn't mine. And so I think one of the most important things, if you're a newer loan officer or if you're looking to get to the next level, you need a mentor or a coach. It's one of the best things you can do. Now, there's a caveat to that because I didn't believe in coaching at first, right? I've been at Fairway for 8 years. Even when I first got to Fairway, I didn't believe in coaching because the only coaching that I had seen and I had experienced up until that point was spreadsheet coaching, right? Which isn't coaching. It's hey, if you make this amount of calls per day, if you do this every single day, you're going to be successful. And don't get me wrong, that does work, but is that the right thing for every person? And the answer is no. Right? Yes, there's some people that's how they built their business. And that's great, but that's not the only path to get there. And so having a mentor that's at a place where you want to be, helping you discover the way you need to build your business, that is one of the most pivotal things that has also helped me because I was, it's crazy. I was okay. I was doing okay when I got my first coach that actually made a difference. I was probably in like the 35 to $40 million range. And so was doing a good bit of volume, but that's coach and having that mentor and that insight of another top producer gave me the ability to hit that 50, $60 million mark and continue to grow the business today. And we're still growing. So it's probably one of the most important things I could tell a newer loan officer or a loan officer that just feels stuck. They can't get it going and they're not sure why.
Yeah. Why do people, avoid coaching? What is it? Is it an ego thing? Is it the cost of it? Is it they don't want to have the accountability and they feel like they can do it on their own? Like why do you think people
Yeah,
fight it?
I think there's a lot of different reasons. For me, it was just bad coaching. A lot of people, there's a difference between sales development, sales training, and coaching, right? Sales development and sales training are just teaching you how to sell, teaching you sales techniques, teaching you different things. That's not coaching. Coaching is working through and allowing the client or the person getting coached to come to those conclusions and figure out how it's not giving answers. It's helping them get the answers they need. Because if I can help you figure out the answer, you're going to have a lot more belief and conviction in that answer than me just handing you an answer. Yes, I could give you probably in most cases, could give you plenty of answers and things to do. But when I give it to you, your chances of actually doing it and continue to do it are pretty slim with most people. Whereas if I can get you to come to that conclusion and figure out that answer, now your conviction is this much higher and you're going to be willing to do that action or activity or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, Trevor, we're coming here towards the end. I want to give you an opportunity if there were questions that you were hoping to answer today or something that you were hoping to talk about that we didn't get an opportunity to discuss. I want to give you that opportunity to address it or speak your mind. So, floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, outside of the mentor or finding a coach, if I had another piece of advice for loan officers, I would say technology. That's a big piece of the puzzle right now, right? Finding the right technology to help you be more efficient in what you do. Technology doesn't get us loans, right? Relationships get you loans. People knowing you, that's what's going to get you loans. So it's not like, oh, this company has this, that company has that. Like, that's great. But technology in and of itself is not going to go out and get you loans. What's going to get you loans is you. But what technology can do is create you, a more efficient you, a better you, sharpen your tools in your toolbox to help you be better at what you do. Again, reducing time spent in different areas. And so that would be my other big piece is don't resist technology. A lot of loan officers make the mistake of resisting change and not wanting to adapt to new systems and new processes and AI this and AI that. Don't embrace it, use it. When you actually get to know it and use it in the way that it can be used, it's just going to make you better.
Yeah. I mean, if you resist it, someone else out there is not resisting it and they're going to reap the benefits of it. And yeah, to your point, it shouldn't be looked at as the answer to everything, but I think allowing yourself to become familiar with the technology is also protecting yourself from being lapped by someone else that fully embraces it, understands it, and can use it to create advantages. And at the end of the day, that's what I think, technology exists for, is to create advantages for you to enhance what you're already able to do and just help you do more of it. So I love that call out. And Trevor, I just want to say thanks for having, taking the time to join me on the lowdown and kind of share your perspective on the industry and your story of how you've gotten to where you are today and some of the things that have come up along the way. So thanks for being a part of this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Connor. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. And so before you go, for anyone who's listening, if something that we talked about today struck a chord, landed with you, I want to point you toward two things. First, there's the Lowdown Mortgage Community newsletter. It's a weekly content newsletter that I produce for originators who are ready to build something bigger. You can subscribe at www.lowdownmortgagecommunity.com/subscribe. Second, if you feel like your business needs to change, but you just can't quite name what it is that needs to change about it, I encourage you to take the Lowdown Diagnostic. It's 3 assessments. It'll take you 5 minutes. You can sit in bed and do this thing on your phone, and it will help you determine your hourly rate, like we talked about here. It'll help you decide what next hire you might be, need to start thinking about, and what stage of growth that you're in right now and what you need to do to get to that next stage based off of the 150 or so podcast episodes that I've done with top producers in this industry. Go to www.lowdownmortgagecommunity.com/diagnostic and you can start that. So anyway, thanks for joining us. Both links to those will be in the show notes, and I will see you next time. Bam.